How confident are you the U.S. is willing to go to war with China over a disputed reef in the South China Sea?
Oh, God.
How far is the U.S. prepared to go? What are your talks suggesting to you?
Well, I really, we would.
Jerry, I want to turn to you on just to follow into this, but from a different angle completely. Recently, in a sudden move, which to me I'm still trying to figure it out, sudden move by none other than Marcos Jr. Marcos, on Philippines. Now Marcos is saying, I prefer diplomacy with China regarding the South China Sea disputes and so forth. Why the sudden pivot? Why the sudden pivot? How do you make out of that?
I don't know what gets into his young head, to be quite honest. He's pretty much controlled by the United States. They control his mother's and his own income. And so it's quite simple. He's been doing a lot of things that for selfish reasons. And I think probably maybe he's realized that his selfish reasoning is fine for him, but he's got 8 years in the position and he has to run this country for the next 6 years. He's got 2 years behind him now. So they only have one term, but it's an 8-year term in the Philippines. And I think possibly he may have been given some advice. We're going down the wrong track here as a country. It's one thing for you to get rich or stay rich because the Americans will allow you control, but it's quite another thing for you to destroy your country. And that's what he was going through. I think inside of his own inner circle, he must have some people who can actually see the danger of what was going on. So they've now signed an agreement, and that agreement is the same agreement as they had 12 years ago and 20 years ago when this Sierra Madre was beached on this thing. They said, okay, China said we want it gone. China has never been the aggressor in this. Never. Not at any stage has China been the aggressor, except that all the media in the West say China is the aggressor. It's not true. China is not the aggressor. China is saying, get that thing off the beach. It's a pristine beach. We want to leave it pristine. That's all China wants. They want to leave it pristine. It's not an island that they're going to fight over or anything like that. Then no one's going to live there. It's just a pristine beach that China says we need to leave it that way. And they had an agreement that the troops that are living there, and there are troops living on that boat. It's a wreck. It's an old World War II launch landing craft. The troops that are living on there are allowed to have medical, food, water supplies delivered. They cannot have any construction materials to make this more of a barracks, if you like. I mean, they're trying to turn the Philippines are trying to militarize this little shoal. It's not even an island, it's a shoal. So the Philippines have been trying to militarize it. China has been trying to prevent that. And now they've agreed that they can militarize it with the troops that are on there. They can rotate the troops on and off. They can deliver supplies that are needed, but they cannot deliver construction equipment because at any stage, China will say, you're not going to do it. And that is why that's been escalating. There's only one shoal, which is useless to anyone. They're still fishing around the region. There's no issues with it. It is in a disputed area. It has nothing to do with the UNCLOS because UNCLOS doesn't cover the land. It only covers the water. It doesn't cover the sovereignty. So it's not an issue there. People keep shouting about how the United Nations has declared this as Philippine land. That's not true at all. That's just complete misinformation. So I think perhaps he's just been told this is not worth it. Now, whatever you're getting out of this, you're not going to win this because the people will rise up against you. The people, at the moment, the Philippine people do not like China. But that's because there's massive American misinformation, media information. And we've already talked about, Carl's already talked about the psyops about the vaccines, Chinese vaccines being dangerous, being fake, all that sort of stuff. Well, that was all proven now to be fake. And I think maybe the people are thinking, we've got a leader here, we've got a president, but he's not leading us. He's managing his own affairs. And I think he may have been told there's going to be an uprising if we don't do it, if we don't compromise on this. So that's my only explanation. I can't think of any reason why he would just suddenly turn around and say, we're going to have this deal, the deal that we already had. He's not a great statesman in creating this deal. All they've done is agreed to what was agreed in the previous administration.
So basically, he's going to refer back to Duterte's approach to China. Basically,
I hope that he will. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for him to do a complete about face because America does control him. But I think he needs to, if he's building up his own wealth, we know the family are corrupt anyway. So if he is building up his own wealth now, he may not need to rely so much on the wealth that his father built up 30 years ago, maybe 40 years ago. I mean, his father was intensely corrupt. And where did the family go when they escaped from the Philippines? They went to Guam. And then the American military moved them to Hawaii. They are an American-controlled family. And where is their money? Their money is controlled by America. This is why he came in. I thought when he came in that maybe we might have some. He had a good relationship with Xi Jinping. He personally knew Xi Jinping before he became president. So when he was young, he had met Xi Jinping. So I thought that might be a good start, but it wasn't. It went completely the opposite way to what I expected. And now I think maybe he's either realized or been told this isn't going to work. You might be harvesting and collecting or protecting your own funds, but you're not protecting your country, and you're going to drive us to war.
Very interesting. Carl, I want to get your input on something that is in the works right now. A lot of people, I kind of digged into it, and I thought I didn't get a chance to give you a heads up on this one. And this one has to do with Thailand. Now, in your opinion, Carl, and you've been around long enough to know, Thailand is trying to sort of hit two birds with one stone. I'm referring to joining both BRICS and the OECD, which is the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Is there any possibility that Thailand can succeed in achieving this objective?
Okay, before we go to Thailand, I want to just add a little bit more to the Philippines situation.
Certainly.
So remember when Blinken went to the Philippines and he said the United States have an ironclad commitment to the Philippine defense that covers the U.S.-Philippine security agreement, covers everything, including the South China Sea.
We stand with the Philippines and stand by our ironclad defense commitments, including under the Mutual Defense Treaty. Article 4 extends to armed attacks on the Filipino armed forces, public vessels, aircraft, including those of its Coast Guard, anywhere in the South China Sea.
Which is a dramatic expansion of the U.S.-Philippine security agreement, because that security agreement was signed in 1951. And at that time, Philippines did not claim the islands in South China Sea. So Blinken say, "Oh, we will stand behind Philippines everywhere, including South China Sea." And then what happened when, under the U.S. Support, the Philippines escalated the tension over Second Thomas Shaw. There was a standoff, and with the Chinese Coast Guard, and then United States suddenly changed their tune. Now they're saying the U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty only applies to the pre-1951 Philippine border, which is the agreement was in the first place. But now they clarified, okay, it actually does not. We're not going to go get ourselves involved in a conflict with China on your behalf. Marcos was actually asked about this on television when he was interviewed. The reporter asked him, "Do you think United States is willing to go to war with China for the Philippines?" And Marcos went,
How confident are you the U.S. is willing to go to war with China over a disputed reef in the South China Sea?
Oh, God.
How far is U.S. prepared to go? What are your talks suggesting to you?
Well, I really... we would...
like that in the that was his response on air. So now we know the answer. United States, their whole goal was to be able to get inside Philippine bases again. Now they gained access to nine or 10 Filipino bases.
Nine of them. Yeah,
Yeah,
9,
not
Carl,
Philippine bases.
but only 5 declared. There are 4 that not declared, and you know why.
Yeah. So they got what they wanted. They're now
Yeah.
able to place missiles in the Philippines. Oh, by the way, U.S. also backed away from the missile place. They placed some missile on Philippines for the joint exercise, but afterwards
Yeah.
they say, oh, these missiles were just there for the exercise. We're
No,
taking them out.
they
So
took them out.
the U.S. is also backing off right now. They're also
Yeah.
backing down. So with its main sponsor, U.S. backing down, Marcos doesn't have much choice left, and he's doing some face-saving tactics to appease the public. He's closing down Pogo, the Philippine offshore gambling operator, which is mostly operated by Chinese, and he's kicking out 20,000 Chinese who are involved in operating this the Pogo scheme. Now, the Pogo thing, the Philippine offshore gambling operator, it was a license that was the Philippine government issued for people to come in to operate casinos, and their target is really Chinese tourists from mainland China, because gambling is illegal in mainland China. You can only go to Macau to gamble. So in the first place, the gambling was set up to attract some of this traffic from the mainland Chinese gamblers come to the Philippines to gamble, and a lot of these things were controlled by very shady Chinese criminal elements. So first of all, these people, the Chinese government actually do not like these people who are running the gambling operation in the Philippines, trying to get mainland Chinese to come to the Philippines to gamble their money away. But from Marco's perspective, now he's appeasing the anti-Chinese sentiment in his own country. So I'm doing something about the Chinese. See, I'm closing down this Pogo, the offshore gambling operator. I'm sending these illegal Chinese back to their country. Now this move, Chinese government is not opposed to the move, because, like I said, a lot of these are Chinese criminals who are on the run from mainland China. That's why they have to go offshore to set up their gambling business. So this is kind of win-win, but Marcos is also able to satisfy his domestic constituency. So, I'm doing something about these Chinese. I'm being tough, and but in effect, like Jerry said, they're reverting back to the gentleman agreement that was signed in 2014 about the Second Thomas Shaw. It's returning to status quo before all these tension gets stirred up. So